Ms. Ann Winters, what a ride this has been. We were just chatting about the fact that we're bookending these interviews. I got to speak to you and Jessica at the junket before the season started. And here we are. In one sentence, how are you feeling with this whole experience?
I would just say satisfied. One word. I mean, one sentence is a little harder.
This has to be almost a record, I feel, because you've been sitting on this juicy little nugget of a spoiler for longer than 3 years at this point. How did you contain this? This is insane.
I mean, most of it, we're locked up, and I wasn't really asked any questions about it, so that took away probably a year and a half or 2 years. But yeah, I mean, I guess it was easier than you think, because I didn't think that the last episode and her dying necessarily was her character that I could talk about. I mean, that happened in the moment, and that definitely bookended, like you said, the entire arc of her character. But that doesn't necessarily, it wasn't something that I wanted to bring up. And it didn't really necessarily have to do with the ride that people were taking with Charly. It was more of a thing that happened in the moment, and I'm so glad I got to have that arc, and it did happen the way that it did. But really wasn't that hard to keep it that a secret. It was annoying having a pending death, knowing that my character was going to die for 3 years, more than keeping it a secret.
Well, walk us through the whole thing though, because you probably got the audition about 4 years ago, maybe a little longer, a little shorter. Were they clear on this is the impact you're going to have, or this is how many episodes you're going to have, or this is her arc right off the bat? Or did you get the role and then kind of slowly discover eventually this is what was going to become of Charly?
I had one audition that had a few scenes, and her audition scenes were very strong, like she is in the beginning. There might have been a couple bogus scenes, but it was pretty clear of like her tone in the beginning, at least. And when I got called back, I actually went to Fuzzy Door to meet with Seth to talk about the character. I think, you don't want to put in the sides the arc of a character. That's something you kind of want to tell. So when we talked about the character and where it would go, he had the idea of maybe writing it that way. And I was like, that would be so cool. Like, that sounds like something I would really, really, really want to do. So after that, I got a call a few weeks later. It took a minute for them to decide, I think. I remember not knowing, being really nervous. And I actually, it so happens, ran into Jess at some random shop or something the day I booked it. And she was like, oh my gosh, how do you feel? Are you so excited that you got it? And I was like, wait, I haven't heard anything. Do you know if I got it? And she was like, yes. I don't know if I'm supposed to say anything. And then an hour later, Seth calls me on my cell phone and was like, you booked the role. We're so excited to have you. And obviously that was a great call. But I did know from our conversation after I got past the audition process that it was going to be that kind of arc.
How did you feel in terms of the responsibility of that you had 9 episodes to make an impact? And I don't know if you recall what I had said to you and Jessica at the beginning, where I said, God, episode 1, you walk in and boom, there's Charly. And I loved it because I love characters that will challenge a dynamic of a show. So what responsibilities did you feel, though, knowing that you had a very limited amount of time, but you wanted to make an impact?
Honestly, the writing is a massive part of it. So Seth obviously wrote an incredible story and gave those moments throughout the arc that made it very clear to the audience that there was change starting to happen with her meeting the emotive Kalon and even saying I'm sorry to Isaac, not knowing what they had been through in the past. That kind of storyline really helps, obviously, my role in this. I just try to play something very truthful and knowing where she ends in those little moments, having just a little bit more emotion each time and more sympathy, and seeing Isaac kind of slowly as Isaac and not Kalon, Um, so I think, yeah, the ride was challenging, but I'm really happy that it went the way it did. And I think it shows. I mean, day one, people hated me. And now I'm like getting all these comments of tears and I want her back. And she was my favorite character. And I'm like, that's a good story. And I'm so glad I got to play it.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I was going to address it, but I didn't know how to do it kind of tactfully. Do you think that any of these fan theories now, because of how many people miss Charly, may even have a chance of happening? Because we've dealt with time travel, other dimensions. People are saying, oh, maybe the weapon didn't destroy Charly, but, centered to another, anything like that. Do you give any credence to anything, or we'll just see what happens?
I think the beauty of being in space and having the incredible creative minds that are working the show, Seth, I think anything is possible. I mean, you really can create your own everything. That you see that he creates his own entire world out here. So there's always a possibility for her to come back in different ways other than maybe just the simulator. I haven't seen any theories. I mean, I haven't gone down that rabbit hole yet. I just see like the nice comments, but I'm sure there's a lot of theories, but anything is possible, I would say.
If this is the end for Charly, period, was there anything about the character that you perhaps wanted to delve into a little bit more, but didn't get an opportunity?
Maybe a love. I mean, maybe not Amanda, but like she hasn't been in love yet. Maybe some, hot space cadet comes on to the ship and they have some rendezvous. I don't know. Anything would be possible.
Love it. I think the fans would definitely support that as well. What was your favorite moment? Because I will like to go on record that when we did the junket and I talked to you months ago, I was the one who asked, would you get a duet with the great Scott Grimes? And you were like,
I just saw that video clip. Yes, that's
right?
Why.
There you go. Yeah, and you're like, that's a good question. So, I mean, aside from singing with the great Scott Grimes, what was your favorite moment that you got?
I mean, my favorite moment was getting to jump out of the plane. I love doing stunts and stuff. That was like my favorite day because it's just so fun for me. I used to be a competitive cheerleader and I love to, I don't know, anything kind of athletic and fun and cool that you can do on a movie set and nowhere else is really fun to me. I would say some of the favorite scenes was definitely anything, the biker bar was so fun for me. And it was hilarious watching Isaac as like the geeky in this stuff with all these, real biker dudes in a bar, and the guy with the arm wrestling was hilarious. It was moments like that were really like stood out to me because we weren't in our normal kind of scenario on set. It felt like we were, on a different show sometimes when you were in a different place. So those were kind of my favorite moments.
Can we talk about your relationship with Mark off screen for a second? Because I got the opportunity. He was the only one I didn't get to talk to at the junket. I got to talk to him last week. And he is a very funny, witty, in that kind of typical British dry humor sense. But he is very reserved in a lot of senses as well. And I'm curious, you guys got that great road trip episode. You had a massive arc together. What did you have to kind of ignore about Mark Jackson, and what did you embrace?
I think if Scott Grimes was playing the robot, it would be very hard to be serious and to ignore the things because he's hilarious. I mean, Mark is funny too, but he is like you said, very dry and like very kind of straight faced and very professional with his work. So honestly, I just tried to maintain seeing him as a robot, and that really wasn't that hard to do on set every day with the get up and like the perfect hair and just his dry humor. And I was shocked at how good he is at looking and being a robot without the costume on, because that's challenging. I don't know if I could do that. Just emotions on your face. I would have no idea how to do that. It would take a lot of practice. So I was just really impressed. There's some people on set that, you might banter like a lot with, and then there's some people you are really working like the whole time. You don't really have enough time. And most of the time when we were on set and it was just us working, we were pretty much on all the time. There wasn't too much waiting around like we would do on the bridge with everybody waiting for their close up and things like that. I personally, I took a lot of time watching behind the camera, and with any of the set cast, I wasn't really in the green room that much. I would take the opportunity to be in the back and watch how things were set up and how John Cassar would direct and things like that, because I do want to direct eventually. So that's kind of where I'm usually in between scenes.
I love it. That's great. That seems to be a bug that has bit many of the cast members, because I know Mr. Jay Lee talks about, you know, his directorial efforts, and he posts about that on Instagram and everything like that too. So I hope we get to see a project of yours soon. Okay, last question. Because you've been involved with some massive projects in terms of, you know, streaming before, obviously, you know, 13 Reasons Why and things like that. I'm trying to reassure the Orville community that Hulu and Disney believes in the Orville. What reassurances have you seen that you can tell fans at the very least, trust me, Disney is not just looking to cancel this show?
No news is good news.
There you go. There was that one sentence I was looking for at the beginning. That's perfect.
The only thing that everybody can do to promote that is to really just keep watching, keep talking about it, and the more it is always on the radar of wanting to get picked up for another season. So,
well, I'm sure I'm not alone when I say I can't wait to see you in something else. Like I said, this was just a fantastic character. Your impact was phenomenal, and job well done. But more importantly, you know, let us know when that directorial debut may be right around the corner.
I have something coming up that I'm actually producing with Fuzzy Door. So Seth and his company is involved in it. I just can't talk about everything yet.
Okay.
But that is confirmed. That's been out there. So.
Love it. Good. Well, best of luck with that. Well, Anne, thank you so much on behalf of the community. Best of luck, and try and enjoy the finale. You know, you get to be a fan at this point, but
I will. I enjoy it.
Great to talk to you again.
Hey Real students, thanks for watching. If you want to subscribe to Real School, click that round Real School logo right beside me. Also click that damn notification bell so you're aware of all of Real School's new content. You can follow me on Twitter, and of course, if you get anything out of Real School, you can always give a little back. Just click the link in the description below or the button down there, and you can become part of my Patreon team.